Would you eat this as the last meal of your life? Because it was for an infamous serial killer.
Let's eat the last meal of every notorious serial killer.
Jeffrey Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, murdered and dismembered 17 men and boys, shocking the world with the extent of his crimes, which included cannibalism and necrophilia. Jeff's time in jail was cut short after being beaten to death with a metal bar by a fellow inmate. His last words were, "I don't care if I live or die. Go ahead, kill me." He wasn't officially offered a last meal, but records show that the last dish he had that day was a grilled cheese.
Honestly, everyone loves a grilled cheese, even a sick serial killer. And Jeffrey Dahmer's one of the sickest. He drilled a hole into someone's skull and poured boiling water in it to try to make them his personal zombie. And he was twisted even since he was a little kid. When I was little, I liked to pick my nose. He did taxidermy. When it comes to weird things he did, the list is pretty infinite. I mean, to even want to eat someone, you gotta have some demons. I lost my appetite.
Aileen Wuornos was an American serial killer and prostitute who shot, killed, and robbed several men who picked her up along the highways. Despite her claims that she was assaulted by the men, she was still sentenced to death. Before lethal injection, she requested one single cup of coffee. Her final statement was, "I'd just like to say I'm sailing with the rock and I'll be back. Like Independence Day with Jesus, June 6th, like the movie, big mothership and all, I'll be back."
I swear I heard that exact same sentence yesterday from a crackhead on Hollywood. I hate black coffee. No sugar, no cream, or no milk. She really was a psychopath. During prison, she said she would do it all again because she hates human life. Sometimes it's okay to not be yourself.
Ted Bundy was a serial killer murdering at least 30, targeting young women and girls. He would lure them in with charm and often faked an injury or impersonating an authority figure. Before the electric chair, Ted Bundy refused a final meal, so the prison gave him what was traditionally served before execution, which was steak, eggs, hash browns, toast with butter, jelly, milk, and juice. Bundy's last words were, "I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends."
You know what? I don't blame him. I wouldn't be that hungry either if I knew I was gonna get turned into burnt toast. Wow, this is the best meal so far. I don't even eat this nice. Why did I get such a nice meal? They're bad people. Feed them poo. The weirdest thing about Bundy? He worked at a self-harm hotline. There's a lot of people that are having a hard time in this world and probably talk to Ted Bundy. People are so intrigued by him. He had fangirls, and I'm sure he'd kill them if he had the chance. I don't drink milk or juice. To cum. Not that I've tried that.
H.H. Holmes was known as America's first serial killer, killing at least 27 people who he lured into his murder hotel that was riddled with secret passageways, trapdoors, and soundproof torture rooms. Some say he could have killed up to 200 people before being hanged in 1896. His last meal was boiled eggs, dry toast, and coffee. His last words to the executioner was, "Take your time, don't bungle it."
You wanna know how this guy's a killer? Because he eats dry toast. Never done this. It's like a dry sponge. I'm glad I wasn't alive then, because I would have stayed if he offered me a good deal. This guy's a psycho. Ew!
Albert Fish was a serial killer and cannibal who targeted children in the 1920s. He confessed to killing over 100 kids, even writing a letter to one of his victims' parents describing how he murdered and ate her. Before the electric chair, he ordered sardines and dried fish for what he thought was his final meal. He was then granted a cancellation, so he shared the meal with the family, and he was executed at a later date instead. His last words were, "I don't even know why I'm here."
I've never eaten sardines in my life, and I wanted it to stay like that. Ugh. Oh. And this is jerky, but it's fish. Not bad. His name's Albert Fish, and his last meal was fish. Imagine if his last name was ass. First sardine ever. That's pretty good. This is the only serial killer that could probably give me nightmares. I mean, this guy was a literal boogeyman. So eating his meal is kind of freaking me out, but it is kind of good. I mean, this guy self-mutilated. He shoved a lighter-soaked rag up his ass and set it on fire. If he was born today, he probably would have been on Jackass.
John Wayne Gacy, also known as the Killer Clown. He would dress up as one for fundraising events, parades, and birthday parties. Gacy murdered at least 33 young men and boys, burying 26 of them in the crawl space of his house. Before lethal injection, Gacy requested 12 shrimp, KFC, fries, and strawberries. His last words were, "Kiss my ass."
Okay, this looks good. This meal alone could kill someone. Oh, never mind. Has strawberries, it's healthy. You know what? I'm gonna say it. If you eat chicken with the bones, you're a Neanderthal. You're ooga ooga. So Gacy dressed up as Pogo the Clown, who was happy, and Patches the Clown, who was more serious. Maybe Gacy was the reason everyone has a fear of clowns now.
William Bonin, the notorious freeway killer, killed 21 by picking up young boys who were hitchhiking. He assaulted, murdered, and then disposed of their bodies along the freeways. Unlike many serial killers, Bonin had multiple accomplices during his murder spree. He was put on death row and made history as the first person to die by lethal injection in California. His last words were, "That I feel the death penalty is not the answer to the problems at hand. And I would suggest that when a person has a thought of doing anything serious against the law, they should go to a quiet place and think about it seriously." Yeah, I think criminals should think about what they do before they do it. His last meal was 2 large pepperoni and sausage pizzas, 3 pints of coffee ice cream, and 3 six-packs of regular Coca-Cola.
Wow, this guy has the same diet as a kid that plays Fortnite. I just love pizza. Why would you order 3 six-packs of Coca-Cola? 18 Coca-Colas has to kill you, right? Oh, I got breakfast. I finished everything.
Here's a couple you don't usually see in the serial killer category, but they very much are. Bonnie and Clyde. They were an American crime couple notorious for their bank robberies and killing anyone that confronted them. They were glamorized because they were lovers on the run. Both were shot to death by officers in an ambush after one of the most dramatic manhunts the nation has ever seen. We don't know their last words, but their last meal was a BLT and bologna sandwich. Bonnie died still holding hers in her hand.
I'm a for bologna. Some people saw Bundy and Clyde as heroes. A lot of people didn't have money at the time and they were robbing banks. So people were like, yeah, rob banks. And they're like, oh my God, we love that, it's a couple.
She's a beast. I call her come.
What's really sad is that they died together but were buried separately, even though their wish was to be side by side. And this is because Bonnie's mother disapproved of Clyde. And people were so obsessed with them that tens of thousands attended their funerals. For criminals, they're the definition of a ride or die.
Margie Velma Barfield, aka the Death Row Granny, was an American serial killer who was convicted of 1 murder, but who eventually confessed to 6 murders in total. She poisoned them with arsenic to obtain insurance money. She was the first woman to die by lethal injection. She released a statement before the execution. "I know that everybody's gone through a lot of pain, all the families connected, and I am sorry. I want to thank everyone who's been supporting me all these 6 years." Who's supporting her? Barfield chose her last meal as cheese doodles and Coca-Cola.
I don't know what the cheese doodles are, but I'm guessing they're like this. This meal is straight to the point. I like it. Could you imagine if you found out your grandma was a serial killer? I feel like that would be the scariest type of serial killer. Because grandmas are so known to be comforting. It makes a lot of sense why she poisoned people. Because if someone was like 80 years old trying to physically kill me, I would just beat the shit out of them. You're no match for Drake and Josh.
Serial killer Richard Ramirez became infamous as the Night Stalker. After killing 13 people, he broke into homes for his murder spree, and surviving victims said he smelled really bad. He died on death row of cancer, and his last meal that day was chicken cacciatore. He never made a public final statement, but he did say in court, "I am beyond good and evil. I will be avenged. Lucifer dwells in us all."
I've never had this before. It's called like chicken cacciatore. Why is this better than any last meal I've ever had in my life? And this wasn't even supposed to be his last meal. Oh my God, best one so far. This is not what he usually ate. His teeth were so bad because all he had was candy, soda, and drugs. I'm sure his mouth smelled like a dead horse, but he actually ended up getting them fixed after he got arrested. This is so good. This is the yummiest one yet, because I have one more meal to eat and it's gonna shock you. Jimmy John's Totally Tuna, jalapeno chips, and a Barks root beer. This is the last meal of me. So if you're ever curious, this is what I'd choose. So hopefully when I die one day, the last thing I have is a Totally Tuna. Oh my God. Comment down below what your last meal would be. And if you want to look good, shop my merchandise no name. Bye.